They said he was too young, too quiet, too thoughtful for Washington's brutal politics. But that was before the day Gabriel Amo stood up, and the whole room went silent. In the shadow of the Capitol dome, where voices clashed like thunder and power feels untouchable, something rare happened. A man with no billionaire donors, no political dynasty behind him, just the strength of his ideas and the truth of his story, walked into a congressional hearing and changed everything. Across from him sat one of the most powerful and polarizing figures in American politics, Senator Mitch McConnell. For decades, McConnell had shaped policy, blocked change, and outlasted his rivals with a calculating calm. Many respected him, many more feared him, but the people, increasingly they had grown tired of his voice, his vision, his version of America. The topic was immigration. McConnell defended a bill critics called cruel and dehumanizing. He spoke with sharp words and colder logic, claiming it was about national interest. Then Gabriel took the microphone. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. But with every sentence, he peeled away the layers of political rhetoric and exposed something raw, something real. "Senator," he said, "you speak of fear, but I speak for the families who fear being torn apart. You speak of walls. I speak of bridges. You call it protection. I call it forgetting who we are." The room went still. Journalists looked up. Lawmakers leaned in. And across the country, a quiet revolution began. In that moment, a man who once felt like an outsider became a voice for millions. This wasn't just another political exchange. This was the beginning of something bigger. The next morning, America woke up to a different rhythm. The usual political noise was still there. Scandal here, distraction there. But beneath it pulsed a new beat. Gabriel Amo's name was everywhere. CNN called it the moment the tide turned. The New York Times headlined, "Quiet Voice, Thunderous Impact." And Twitter, it was on fire. Clips of the hearing were shared millions of times in a matter of hours. TikTok flooded with montages of Gabriel's calm, piercing words over emotional music, with captions like, "Finally, a leader who sounds like us." But not everyone was celebrating. Inside the marble halls of Washington, the establishment stirred, and not in a friendly way. Senator McConnell, long known for his cold strategic mind, was not pleased. He didn't rise to power by ignoring threats, and he certainly didn't plan to start now. Behind closed doors, a quiet campaign began. Conservative media accused Gabriel of emotional manipulation. Anonymous sources leaked that he was too soft to lead. One news anchor on a major network even called him naive, idealistic, a flash in the pan. But while they tried to label him, something else was happening. People, ordinary people, were listening. Veterans, nurses, immigrants, teachers, factory workers, not political insiders, not party loyalists, just Americans who had grown tired of being spoken about instead of spoken for. And they didn't just listen, they responded. Letters poured into Gabriel's office from every corner of the country. Some were handwritten, some typed in broken English. Many started the same way. "I don't usually write to politicians, but I saw you speak." A single mother in Wisconsin sent a note with photos of her kids and wrote, "Thank you for reminding us that decency still matters." A retired Marine from Pennsylvania wrote, "I've voted Republican my whole life, but after watching you, I'm thinking for the first time. Thank you." Even his critics were confused. How could someone with no major party backing, no family legacy, no PAC money, make this kind of noise? But they were asking the wrong question. Because this wasn't noise, it was resonance. Gabriel Amo had touched something deeper. Not just political frustration, but emotional exhaustion. And that's a force no strategy memo can undo. In a town built on careful calculation, a man who simply told the truth had just shifted the ground beneath everyone's feet. And Mitch McConnell, he was preparing his response. Mitch McConnell wasn't one to back down. The Capitol's corridors whispered with anticipation. The old guard was readying its counterstrike. From the polished offices to the shadowy back rooms, plans were drawn. Political operatives and strategists convened, crafting a narrative to paint Gabriel Amo as inexperienced, reckless, even dangerous. The message was clear. The status quo must be preserved. On national television, McConnell's allies launched a barrage. They questioned Gabriel's credentials, his youth, even his motives. Too emotional for policy, one pundit declared. A threat to stability, warned another. Headlines shifted from praising to doubting. But Gabriel didn't retreat. Instead, he stepped forward with even greater resolve. He toured small towns and cities, listening to real Americans, farmers, teachers, factory workers, people forgotten by the political elite. Every handshake, every story fueled his fire. His message wasn't just about politics anymore. It was about hope, dignity, and reclaiming a nation's soul. During a televised town hall, when a moderator tried to trap him with a loaded question about his inexperience, Gabriel smiled and said, "I'm not here because I'm perfect. I'm here because I'm willing to listen, because I know the people I serve, and because I believe it's time to change not just how we do politics, but why we do it." Social media exploded again. Clips of his calm confidence and genuine empathy spread like wildfire. Supporters organized rallies, flooded phone lines, and showed up in record numbers for local meetings. Meanwhile, the old guard's attacks began to lose steam. Voters saw through the smears and manipulation. The movement Gabriel sparked was bigger than any one man. It was a demand for real representation. By the end of the month, polls showed a surprising surge in Gabriel's favor. More than that, they reflected a shift in the American spirit, a hunger for truth, courage, and a leader who could turn silence into a roar. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear: Gabriel Amo was no longer just a quiet voice. He was a force to be reckoned with. The months that followed were unlike anything Washington had seen in years. Gabriel Amo was no longer just a rising star. He had become a tidal wave sweeping through the political landscape. With every speech, every handshake, every shared story, his message grew louder, clearer, impossible to ignore. He spoke not in empty slogans, but in the lived realities of everyday Americans, their dreams, their struggles, their hopes. From small towns in the Midwest to crowded city streets on the coasts, rallies packed with thousands shouted his name. Volunteers painted signs, made calls, and knocked on doors like never before. It was more than a campaign. It was a movement. At a critical debate facing seasoned politicians and relentless criticism, Gabriel remained calm and unshaken. When asked about the backlash and attacks, he simply said, "Change always threatens those who profit from the old ways. But our fight isn't just for politics, but it's for the heart of America. And that heart is strong." Behind the scenes, his team worked tirelessly, building coalitions, securing endorsements from unexpected allies, and pushing policy proposals that promised real, tangible change. But the higher he climbed, the louder the whispers of doubt became. Some questioned whether a man so young and untested could deliver on such promises. Others feared the upheaval his success represented. Gabriel understood this. The road ahead was steep, and the opposition would only grow stronger. Yet with every challenge, he grew more determined, because this was never just about winning an election. It was about giving a voice back to the voiceless. It was about proving that one person with courage and conviction can change the course of history. And as the nation watched, a new chapter was being written, one where hope was no longer a whisper, but a roar. As Gabriel Amo's movement gained unstoppable momentum, the pressure mounted to an almost unbearable level. The hopeful chants in the swelling crowds hit a harsh truth: the higher you climb, the harder the fall. Behind the scenes, the machinery of the old political order churned faster and darker than ever. Opposition forces dug into every corner of Gabriel's past, searching for anything to discredit him. Every decision, every word, every misstep was magnified and twisted. Late one night, leaked documents appeared online, falsely accusing Gabriel of ethical violations. The story exploded across news networks. Headlines screamed, social media debates turned vicious, and his opponents smelled blood. Even some within his own camp wavered. Advisors urged caution, suggesting he lay low until the storm passed. But Gabriel refused to retreat. "This isn't just about me," he told his closest team. "It's about the people who believe in change. The families, the workers, the dreamers. If I step back now, it's not just a loss for me. It's a loss for every single person who's put their faith in this movement. Determined to face the storm head-on, Gabriel held an unprecedented live press conference. With the weight of accusations hanging in the air, he spoke calmly but firmly. "I will not be distracted or deterred by false attacks designed to divide us. These tactics are nothing new. They are the tools of a system afraid of change. But I stand here not just as a candidate, but as a believer in truth, transparency, and the power of the people." His words resonated. Across the nation, messages of support flooded in. Thousands rallied not just for the man, but for the ideal he embodied: courage in the face of adversity. Meanwhile, the political arena grew even more ruthless. Opponents doubled down on smear campaigns, lobbyists pushed harder, and the media churned out stories to keep the scandal alive. But Gabriel's resilient dramas inspired a new wave of activism. Grassroots organizations mobilized, social media campaigns intensified, and voter registration surged to levels unseen in decades. He spent sleepless nights strategizing with his team, meeting with community leaders, and planning his next moves. Each day was a battle, not just for his political future, but for the soul of a nation longing for change. In quiet moments, Gabriel reflected on how far he had come. From the shadows of silence to the spotlight of scrutiny, the journey was grueling, the stakes higher than ever. Yet through it all, one truth remained unshaken. Real change demands sacrifice, and Gabriel Amo was ready to pay the price. The storm had raged for months, but as the election day drew near, something extraordinary happened. The voices of doubt and fear were met with a thunderous chorus of hope and determination. Gabriel Amo's campaign had transformed into a nationwide movement, fueled not by money or endorsements, but by the relentless energy of everyday Americans who refused to be ignored any longer. From bustling cities to quiet rural towns, people gathered in record numbers, not just to listen, but to take action. Volunteer groups formed overnight, phone lines buzzed with calls, and grassroots efforts pushed voter registration to historic highs. In town halls, parks, and community centers, Gabriel's message echoed, "This is our country, and it's time to reclaim it." On national TV, political analysts scrambled to explain the seismic shift. Polls that once showed him trailing now reflected a tight race, with some even predicting an upset. But the old guard wasn't ready to concede. In the final days, they launched their most aggressive attacks yet: legal challenges, last-minute smear campaigns, and attempts to suppress voter turnout in key areas. Still, Gabriel remained steadfast. His response was clear and resolute. Democracy belongs to the people. No dirty tricks, no lies can silence us when we stand united. Election night arrived with palpable tension. Across the country, millions waited anxiously as results trickled in. Early returns showed surprises in swing states. Towns that had long voted predictably were shifting. And then came the moment that would define Gabriel's legacy. When the final votes were tallied, Gabriel Amo had done the unthinkable. He won. Not just a victory for one man, but a triumph for a movement that refused to be silenced. As cheers erupted nationwide, Gabriel took the stage, his voice steady and filled with gratitude. "This victory belongs to every single person who believed that change is possible. Together we prove that courage and truth can overcome even the most entrenched power." The journey was far from over, but on that night, hope roared louder than ever. Winning the election was just the beginning. As the applause faded and the cameras dimmed, Gabriel Amo stepped into the most challenging role of his life, a leader entrusted with the hopes of millions and the weight of a nation's future. The halls of power were no longer distant battlegrounds, but places where decisions would shape lives. Gabriel knew that true leadership meant more than speeches and rallies. It meant action, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment. From the first day in office, he set to work, pushing bold reforms, fostering bipartisan dialogue, and holding firm to the promises that had ignited a movement. But the challenges were relentless. Old systems resisted change, entrenched interests fought back, and unexpected crises tested his resolve. Still, Gabriel met each obstacle with the same calm determination that had defined his rise. He listened more than he spoke, sought common ground even with adversaries, and never lost sight of the people who had placed their trust in him. Across the country, hope blossomed anew. Communities once forgotten began to thrive. Voices once silenced found strength. A nation scarred by division started to heal. Gabriel Amo's story wasn't just about one man's triumph. It was about the power of ordinary people coming together to rewrite their destiny. And as a new dawn broke over the nation, one truth shone brighter than ever. Change is possible. Hope is powerful. And one voice, no matter how quiet it begins, can change the world.